You seem a lot more confident in your playing on the latest work as opposed to the last one. You feel a lot more confident or a lot more comfortable?
I feel a lot more confident, yeah. I think as a guitarist I never took lessons. I never learned how to play, and I was completely self-taught, and about over a year ago I discovered, I thought, how come I'm not getting any better? All these kids can play a lot better and faster in technique. I thought, well, it must be something to do with the way I play. So I studied a lot of guitar players. I'd actually watch them close up. I'd watch the way they hold guitars, their techniques, the way they pick, the way they use their left hand. And now I'm playing a lot more in the classical sense, a lot more in the proper sense. I'm even thinking about taking guitar lessons if I can find the time on the road. But yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable about my playing. I'm still in that transitory stage here. I'm still trying to get out of my old habits. It's very, very hard to break old habits when you've been playing this way for years. But I anticipate that by the next album, it's going to be completely different, unbelievably different. Because I mean, you play differently, you sound differently, And right now, I'm going through all that.
それはそうですよ。昨日はね、僕はギターを覚えたのがね、全くの独学で、それでずっとやっててね、で若造ばっかりになんていうか追い越されちゃって、俺なんで上手くならないんだろうと思って、それである日からね、ギタリストをよく見れるようになって、特にね、ギターのなんていうか持ち方とテクニック、レフトハンドソロとピッキングの仕方、そういったものに特に注目してね、真似たりして。それでなんていうかもう破格に上手くなったっていうか、確かに上手くなったと思うんだけど、今はもっとオーソドックスな弾き方をしてるし、クラシックに似たような弾き方をしてると思う。で今は一生懸命その昔からの悪い癖をなくすようにしてるんですが、まあ次のアルバムまでになんていうかまたはるかに上手くなると思う。
やっぱりハードな練習を今でもやってるんですよね。
So you work pretty hard on practicing.
I practice a lot more on the road. When we were doing the album, it was more difficult for me because we were writing a lot of it as we went along. But traditionally, when we're on tour, I'd practice for 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day. So this is the very first show of this tour, so I have to get back into the habit of practicing. I do have to work hard at it. It's a lot more mental anxiety than anything else. It's very, very hard to concentrate on stage trying to remember what to do. And it's so easy to fall into old habits, as I said before, just let it go. And the problem with my playing before was that I always played too heavy. I picked too heavy with my right arm, and I gripped the neck of the guitar far too heavy. And so I have to learn to relax on stage. I anticipate that it'll take a few shows to get into the swing of things.
前と比べてツアーをやってる時にね、より、なんていうかたくさんの時間を取っといて、それで練習するようにしてるんだけども、今なるべく1日3時間ないし5時間練習をやるようにしてるんだけども、だけどね、いざステージで、ね、弾くとなるとその例の悪い癖に、ね、頼ってしまったり、例えばピッキングをきつくやりすぎたり、あるいはネックをね固く握りすぎたり、そういう悪い癖に頼ってしまうんだけど、なるべくそういうことをしないように余裕を持って落ち着いて、ステージでプレーをするようにしてる。そういう必要が、どうしてもあるだろう。
その悪い癖って今自分で言って自分で悪い癖だなと思ったきっかけっていうのは何なんですか？例えばその強く弾いてしまうっていうことがいけないことだっていうのは。
When did you realize that these are bad habits, like gripping the neck too hard and picking too heavily?
I realized this about 18 months ago, and
how did you realize that, or the circumstances?
By just wondering why it was that I couldn't develop my technique anymore. It seemed so obvious. I should have realized it years ago. I guess I figured that the technique wasn't that big a thing. A lot had to do with the band Dokken. They were on tour with us last year. George Lynch is a guitarist, and he's an excellent guitar player.
George
Lynch.
George Lynch.
Excellent player. He hasn't got a perfect technique, but he has a very good technique, and it's very different from mine. And I studied him a lot, and I must admit he was a big influence on the way I'm playing now. He picks up strokes a lot. I always pick down strokes. He picks up strokes. The proper way is to pick up and down very casually from the wrist. I use my arm too much on the muscle when I pick with my right arm. George picks up. The proper players pick like this. The classical players, it's a real easy action, and it's like trying to ride a bike. You know, once you learn, it's easy if you can get into the swing of it. But yeah, players. I'm influenced by a lot of other guitar players, even players in the bands who open for us. And I don't believe that because I happen to be the guitar player in Dio that there's nothing I can't learn. There's a lot I can still learn from a lot of guitar players, and I do.
18ヶ月前にね、いやどうして上手くならないだろうと突然ね思い始めてしまって、それでちょうどあの時独研が前座をやってたわけですよ。で独研のギタリストのジョージ・リンチ彼いろいろとね教わってもらって、特にね彼のそのピッキングの仕方っていうのは一番こう正当なやり方やってるんですよ。それ何かというと、アップストロークってね。こう引っ張るわけですよ、軽く。彼がその時までは、彼っていうこの方はね、こうダンスと、それがなんていうか邪道っていうか、うまく弾けないわけですよ。こうやると、要するにその腕全体をこう入れすぎて、そういうダウンストロークやってたんだけど、本当はこう軽くアップストロークでやった方が、よりうまくプレイできる。それを教わったわけですよ。で、独研だけじゃなくて、その前座をやってくれるバンドのギタリストがいろいろとね、謙虚に教わったりとか、なるべくそういう姿勢で、こう仕事を望んでる。例えば前でもね、1枚目とかその最初の頃でもデビューアルバムの頃でも十分例えば速いフレンズだったら速すぎるぐらい速いとは思ってたんですよね。でもそのスタイルを変えることでその速弾きができなくなっちゃうんじゃないかなっていうような怖い部分がありませんでした。スタイルを変えるって。It seemed that from the very beginning though you were capable of pulling off some pretty impressive licks and whatnot. Do you fear losing that type of thing by changing your style?
Oh no, not at all. I think the advantage is, in the long run, I'll be able to have the advantage of using all styles because I learned how to play wrong. It's very, very difficult for players who have perfect technique, players such as Yngwie Malmsteen or Richie Blackmore. It's very, very difficult for them to apply the kind of technique that I use, which is a wrong technique, which is something similar to players like Gary Moore use a very, very heavy attack. It's much easier for me to learn how to play like them than for them to learn how to play like me, and hopefully I'll have the best of both worlds.
全くそういう心配がない。なぜかというとね、僕がどんどん上手くなっていっても、その昔のかつて使ってたやってた弾き方はいつでもね、こう思い出してやれるわけですよ。でも例えばイングウェイ・マラスキンとかリッチー・ブラックモンっていうのはもうほとんどテクニックが完璧なんで、逆に僕を真似ることはできない。しかし僕は彼らこうなんていうのかな、彼らみたいになれる。で僕とかね、ゲリー・モアみたいなギタリストはそうだと思う。前、使ってた弾き方はいつでも思い出して弾けるけども完璧に、弾けるギタリストはそういうことはできないと確信してる。トリッキーなプレーっていうのね、割とやるタイプではないと思うんですよね。でもそういうものに走った時期っていうのはありましたか？You're not the type of player who uses a lot of flashing or trickiness. Did you ever go through a stage where you were trying to experiment with that type of thing?
Yeah, I anticipate using it. I intend to be able to learn how to do things like that. The only reason I've never used it is because I've never been able to do it. I just played straightforward rock and roll. There's so many other guitar players who can do it. New young guitar players. If and when I ever use things like the two-handed technique, I intend to use it completely. I'll use all 8 fingers instead of just using one finger to hammer on things. I'll work on that. I believe in doing things right, so if I do it, I'll do it the whole way. そういうトリッキーなプレーをやらないのはできないから
はっきり言って、僕は昔からね、ストレートのロックンロールを得意としてきたからね、それにこう分かっててね、そういうことをこう完璧に、こなせるやつはもうあまりにも多いからね、やる意味もないと思うし、それにまあ実際にその、レフトハンド奏法っていうか、ほら両手を使いライトハンド奏法を使おうとしても完璧にやりたい。指をもう4本、使えるようになりたい。そういう気持ちがあるんだけども、もしそれをやるとすればね、そのうちやれるようになると思う。
そういういろんなね、ライトハンドやったりするギタリストもいるし、もう今のロック界ってもういろんなタイプのギタリストが全て揃ってる感じがするでしょ。そういう状況の中で自分の個性を表現しなきゃならないと思うんだけど、そういうのっていうのはどういうふうにしようと思ってますか
？Got all the, guitarists doing everything these days. They put two hands and they especially do all sorts of things. So you kind of got the whole spectrum covered. How do you go about expressing yourself to create a sort of uniqueness and to, make your own mark?
Well, I believe you play what you feel. If you feel more, if you feel more involved in what you're playing when you're on stage, it shows. And I think there's not really that many guitar players who can come off that way. It's very hard to be fresh and to be vital as a musician when you go out on stage and perform. You really have to want to do it. And I think that's the difference. That when I go on stage with this band, I go on stage because I want to do it, and there's nothing else in the world I'd rather be doing. And I think that vitality will just shine through. And if not, it won't.
自分の感じることをそのまんま表現することによって新鮮な、印象を与えることができると思う。だからその自分のプレイに完全に集中して完全にその自我をね関わらせるのであればその気持ちは見てる人に伝わると思うんだけどもでそれが非常になんていうのか新鮮な、イメージを与えることはできると思うんだけどもそのなんていうのかな一種のバイタリティは伝わると思う。
でそういう意味で今いるギタリストこいつはすごいなっていうような人もいます。
Any guitar players that you really are impressed with?
I'm very impressed with a lot of guitar players. Gary Moore has always been my favorite. But even players such as George Lynch from Dokken, I learned a lot from. I recently watched Yngwie Malmsteen play, and I must admit I was knocked out. The guy is phenomenal. His technique. He's not much of a rock and roll player, but he's got all his chops now. Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix. I listen to a lot of guitar players. I don't really have one favorite.
一番好きなギタリストはいないけども、いっぱい好きなギタリストいっぱいいる。で、特に好きなのはゲリー・モア。それが最近イングウェイ・マルスティン見たんだけど、あんまりロックンロールはそんなに上手くないけども、テクニックは素晴らしいと思った。それに特権のジョージ・リンチ、ジェフ・ベック、ジミー・ヘン。
特権のジョージ・リンチっていうのは割と日本でまだ来日してないっていうか知名度がイメージでこう誰かが来た時に話すと必ず出る名前なんですよねレビューあたりで向こうではやっぱりすごいんですかね話って
Every time he talks to guitar players these days they always kind of bring up the name George Lynch from Dokken. Well, he's pretty much revered back home.
Well, he's not actually. He's a very, very underrated guitar player. George has been around for a long time. He's a lot older than you might imagine, and he taught a lot of guitar players. He actually taught Randy Rhoads. He used to jam with Eddie Van Halen before Van Halen became popular. And he's, like I said, he's got an excellent technique, brilliant guitar player, and he's just been very, very unfortunate. He almost had his chance at fame and fortune with Ozzy Osbourne, but they didn't get along. They had personal problems, but it wasn't as a result of his playing. So George has been known and admired by a lot of guitar players in Los Angeles for a long, long time, and he really deserves a break. And it's only recently that Dokken has become successful, and that's why he's come a lot more to the forefront. But he's influenced a lot more guitar players than you think. As far as I'm concerned, Warren DeMartini from that, who's an excellent guitar player, plays just like George Lynch. And in fact, I think he probably got all of his techniques from George Lynch and stole all the credit. He just got big before George did. But they play almost identical the way they play, and they used to live together, so I think Warren copped all George's chops. He's a great player.
いや皮肉にもその彼が、過小評価っていうかね、こう過小評価をされてると思う。みんな思ってるよりは年取ってるんですよね。昔ランディ・ローズにギターを教えていたし、エリー・バンヘイレンという、ジャムセッションをね、バンヘイレンはまだ、無名の時代によくやってたし、それにね、彼はね、夢になりそうだったんだけども、なり損なった。なぜかというと、オージー・オズボーンのバンドに入って、それなオージーとどうも、性格的にうまくいかなかったから、クビになったんだけども。で今そのラットのオーレン・ディマーティーニが非常に注目を浴びてるんだけども、彼はかつてジョージ・リンチのルームメイトだったんで、もうジョージ・リンチのフレーズを全部パクってしまったという気がしないでもない。非常に聴き方は似てるから。
ちょっと、時代が古くなるけど、まずディオに入った時のことあたりから聞き直したいんだけど、その入ったいきさつみたいなのがまず。
Take back the clock a little bit. Maybe you could explain the circumstances that led to you joining Dio.
Okay, well, I was in a band called Sweet Savage, Ireland, and yeah, that's where I'm from, in Belfast.
Was it right? Yeah. Don't talk with the Trace accent.
I've been in America too long.
Yeah, I just talked to Mama's boys, and they all still spoke
well, they're from the country. I'm from Belfast. I'm a city slicker.
Oh, I see.
They live 60 miles away. As far as we're concerned, they're real country boys. They're real nice guys, but yeah, I was in this band called Sweet Savage, and Jimmy being the bass player in our band, had a band together called Wild Horses, and they were touring in Ireland when I first met him then. And right about that time, Ronnie left Black Sabbath. He called Jimmy, said that he and Vinny were coming to Europe because they wanted to use European musicians. They needed a bass player and a guitar player to do an album, maybe with the view to putting a band together and touring afterwards. So it was really coincidental. I happened to be in Dublin with Jimmy the day that he got the call. And it was a real Cinderella story. It turned out that I was the only guitar player they auditioned. In fact, the only guitar player they considered, and I was completely unheard of. And things worked out okay. We met in London, we had a few drinks and we jammed, and everything went fine. We liked each other, so here we are.
当時はね、彼はアイランド人ですよね。当時はアイランドのスイートサベージというバンドに入ってたんですけども、それであの時、ジミー・ベイン、ベーシストの、人がワイルド・ホースというバンドに入ってたんですが、彼はたまたまアイランドツアーを行っていたわけです。でちょうどその時に、ロニー・ディオがブラックサバスから脱退して、それでヨーロッパ人のベーシスト、ギタリストを探してたわけですよ。でたまたまね、そのジミー・ベインに電話がかかってきた時は、ビビアンが衣装でして、それで彼はあの時当然無名だったし、それでオーディションを受けた唯一のベーシスト一人だったわけですよ。
オーディションが行ったのは、
他のオーディションを行わなかったという、たまたまラッキーだった。
それですんなりと入っちゃった。すんなりと入っちゃったという感じ。
So you just got right into it then, no problems and anything?
None whatsoever.
Huh.
I assure you. And yeah, we got along pretty well. We came to Los Angeles, and that's where we all live now, and that's why I lost my accent. And, so So there it is, as a man says.
すんなりと入ったらとかもうすぐにロサンゼルスに引っ越してずっとそこでやって
ギター始めたきっかけというか、そういうなんでマーク・ボランとかロビー・ギャラガーが好きだっていう話をちょうど聞いたんです。
You heard that you took up guitar because you had a liking for Rory Gallagher and Mark Bolan.
Well, Mark Bolan, first of all, when I was really small, I saw Mark Bolan on TV when he was at his height, and it was the whole aura. Not as a guitar player, he held a guitar, but he didn't solo or anything. The hair, the clothes, the glamour of it, that's for me. So I was a soccer player at the time, and that was my big ambition. I packed that in, bought a guitar. My first guitar hero was Rory Gallagher. He was the first person I ever saw in concert. His album was the first album I ever bought, and it was his solos that I first tried to steal.
Was that because he was also Irish?
Well, that had a lot to do with it because he was the only musician who'd ever play in Belfast because of the political trouble, and so therefore that one thing led to another, that he was the only musician I ever saw for years and years.
一番最初憧れたのはマーク・ボーラン。本当はね、サッカーの選手になりたいっていうそういう夢をね持ってたんだけども、マーク・ボーランのその華やかさを見たから、これいけないと思った。別にマーク・ボーランのギタープレイがうまいっていうわけでも何でもなかったし、その華やかさに憧れた。それで一番最初に憧れたギタリストはローリー・ギャラガー。一番買ったレコードは彼のレコードだし、一番コピーしたのは彼のソロだし、でなぜならば、あの時ベルファストでコンサートやったのはローリー・ギャラガーだけだったから、まあ、ベルファストいろいろほら問題がずっと続してるし、なかなかミュージシャン入ってこないんだけども、彼一人でコンサートを、まともに開いてくれる。
特にやっぱりゲイリー・ムーアが好きだっていうのは有名なんだけど、今でもやっぱり聞きます。
And you mentioned a preference for Gary Moore there.
Yeah, after Rory Gallagher, when I was about 15, I first heard of Gary Moore, and when I first heard him, I was amazed. I'd never heard anyone play like this. This is before I'd ever heard of Van Halen. In fact, before Van Halen had.
What record did you want?
This is his solo album, Back in the Streets, and that track itself, I first heard in the band I was in, Sweet Savage, we did a cover version of it. It was phenomenal. I couldn't believe anyone could play like that. So he was I dropped everything and I started Gary Moore for years and years and years. In fact, he's still probably my all-time favourite guitar player, I think. Maybe, but, sometimes I have a preference for Jeff Beck. He learned a lot from Jeff Beck too. Now looking at Jeff Beck play and listening to him play, I can see where Gary Moore comes in. It goes on and on. I mean, guitar players just are so influenced by each other, even though they maybe won't admit it.
15歳の時だったかな、ゲリー・モーがちょうどバック・オン・ザ・ストリートを発表した時なんだけども、あれ聞いたらもうたまげた。なんでうまく弾けるだろうと思って、それでバック・オン・ザ・ストリートのコピーでやってたし、当時のバンド。そのゲリー・モーはいまだに一番好きなギタリストかもしれないけど、そうじゃないかもしれないけど、非常に好きだ。ゲリー・モーはずっとジェフ・ベックから影響されてきたって。言ってるんだけども、ジェフ・ベックよく聞くと、なるほどと、納得できると。ギタリストっていうのは常に他のギタリストに影響を受けたり与えたりするんだけども、それを認めるやつ少ないんだけど、それは事実だ。
そうですね。余談になるけど、フィル・リノットと出したミニアルバムを聞きました。フィル・リノットと出したミニアルバム。
Have you heard the single that Gary Moore and Phil has been up?
Out in the Fields? Yeah, it's real good.
Like it?
Yeah, I just did some work with Phil in it.
Was it right?
Yeah, but after we finished the album, I had 3 weeks off with him, and I spent a week of that time in London with Phil, and I was doing some demos with him for his new solo album. It was just after the single had come out. It did pretty good. Got to number 5 in England on the charts.
What single was that?
The Out in the Fields. Oh, that's the one. I didn't play on that.
Yeah.
No, that was just after he did that. I've been doing some work with him for his solo album. I won't be playing on it because we're going to be on tour. But I've known Phil for a long time. Because when I was in Sweet Savage, we used to open for Thin Lizzy.
Oh, is that right?
And yeah, they were our heroes. I wanted to be Thin Lizzy.
なかなかいい曲だなと思うんだけど、フィル・リノットは昔から交流があって、 スイートサベージっていうバンドに入ってた時代は新理事のね前座をよくやってたし、昔から知ってるし、最近そのフィルビーノットのソロプロジェクトに参加してたんだけども、今のツアーでね結局参加できなくなったんだけども、でも一緒に仕事するしよく知ってるよ。
次レコーディングのことでちょっと聞きたいんですけど、まずソロはインプロビゼーションでやってるか、それとも計画的にやっちゃってるか。
On the record, do you figure out your solos in advance? You try to have them on the spot.
I never work. I try to work them on sometimes. I find it very, very difficult to work out guitar solos because, again, this comes back to my technique. Because if I were a better player from a technical point of view, then I'd be able to work things out very easily, and I would know that I'd be able to go into the studio and repeat it. My playing's a lot more spontaneous than that. If I have a good day, I'm on a roll, and if I don't, I'm lumbered. And unfortunately, a lot of the time when we're doing solos in the album, I'll go in there and I'll try it and it won't work, and it'll take a long, long time. Other days, I'll go in and it'll be no problem. We'll get it done within a few minutes. I.e. the solo on our most popular song in the first album, Rainbow in the Dark. That solo was the first take. I went in, we got the guitar sound together, I played the track and I did it, and that was it. And I think that was one of my best ever solos because of that, because it was spontaneous. But on the new album, there's one solo that I worked out in advance. The rest I just couldn't handle it.
新作ではね、その中の1曲のソロは前もってね、計画的にやったんだけども、なんていうのかな、その自分のテクニックの限界があるからね、だからあらかじめこう計画的にソロをね作っていくのはちょっと難しい、僕の場合は。こうかなり好調の日もあればそうでもない日もあるからね。だから絶好調であればねその場でソロを取れるんだけども、そうでもない時は何回もやって、でもなるべく自発的にやるというか、その場でやりたい。すぐ計画的ソロをやるのは難しい。ファーストアルバムの「レインボー・イン・ザ・ダーク」のソロはワンテイクで取れて、今までにそれがもう自分のベストだと思っている。
例えば少年たちね、リオのコンサートに行く少年たちはビビアンのソロを聴くときに、最近の前は違ったと思うんだけど、最近の若い人ってアルバムに入ってるソロを割とそのまま弾いてくれた方が喜ぶ部分ってありますよね、今。そういうものはどう思います？意識しますか、そういうところって。
Sure, a lot of the kids who come to see your concert, they'd like to see you play the same solos you do on the album.
Tough. I try. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. On the first two albums, I can remember the majority of the solos because we did them at a more relaxed pace. This album was done, we had 2 weeks off after the tour, and then we started writing, and then we went straight into the studio and we started recording, and we did the songs bang, 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 one after the other, and we did the solos exactly the same way. I can't even remember the songs, let alone the solos, because it's been so hectic. You know, the first two albums we had time, we'd go home, take a month off, write a few songs. It was much more together, but this is, I can't even remember them. Like I said, it's trouble enough to remember the song. Sometimes it comes to me, sometimes it doesn't.
それはレコード通りに聴けるとき、聴けない曲が、両方あるんだけども、最初の前のアルバムっていうのは割とこう余裕を持って落ち着いてて、撮ったんでね、大体思い出せるんだけども、とにかく新作は何しろそう終わって2週間後にもうパンパンパンパン撮ってね、もうソロはともかくとして曲でさえ思い出せないのを覚えてない。とても無理だ。
じゃあいつもコンサートっていうのではもうまるっきりアルバムでやったソロはアルバムをやったソロで、コンサートは別にもうインプロビゼーションでやってしまうと。
So basically, any song we don't copy the solo note for note will be completely improvised. Then.
デュオっていうバンドのアレンジアレンジをしている人、サウンドメイクしている人っていうのは誰なんですか？
It counts for the arrangements, creating the total sound.
Well, when we write a song, we all go into a rehearsal studio and and we keep it as much a live situation as possible. We play pretty loud and we just hash it out. Usually Jimmy or I'll come up with some sort of a riff or a musical idea, and we'll all play with it. We'll take our time. We'll take a cassette home. We'll listen to it, and different people throw in ideas. It's always very much a group effort.
作曲するときはスタジオに入ってで音をでっかくしてね、なるべくこうライブみたいな雰囲気を作ってしまうわけですよ。で僕がフレーズを考えて、でそれがこう曲になっていくわけですよ。それをテープに取って家でこうじっくりと聴いて、それぞれのメンバーがいろんなアイディアを付け加えて。完成した曲になっていく。じゃあ
例えば曲を作って譜面があってそれにアレンジを加えた譜面があってみたいなことじゃないわけです。
It's not a matter of putting together a song and then arranging it later in the studio for everybody to work on afterwards.
Sorry?
It's not a matter of like somebody drawing up a song and then.
Oh no. No one ever comes up with a complete thing. It's always go through the ringer. Try this arrangement, try that arrangement. We take a lot of time over writing songs.
それがね、完成した曲を提供することはまずないだろう。それぞれのメンバーとみんなで作っていくっていう、そういう過程がある。
次に楽器のこと聞きたいんだけど、前はレスポール使ってて、今シャーベル使ってると思うんですけど。シャーベルを完璧に変えちゃったんです。前はレスポールを使ってたと思うんですけど、今はこれシャーベル使ってるんです。
これなんていうの？
シャーベル。
シャーベル？
これに変えてしまったのかな。これ
に変えてしまった
んですか？完璧に。
You've been playing a Paul before. You switched this for practice.
Oh no, I use Charvel. This is one of my main guitars. The Les Paul I used on the first album and on the first tour because it was the only guitar I had. I only had one guitar when I joined the band. Now I got lots. And I use the Les Paul for a few songs on stage. I vary.
How many guitars are you carrying around with you now?
For this show I only have 3 with me because we didn't bring our equipment and we just traveled very light. The 3 guitars I have with me are 3 Charvels like this.
Was that right? 1枚目のレコードとその時のツアーでレスポールコールを使ったんだけども、なぜならばその1本しか持ってなかったこの時は、それで今もたくさん持ってるんだけど、今回の来日は何しろあまり機材持ってきてないんで、ギターは3本だけで、それがみんなシャーベルだけど。
ピックアップはダンカンですか？
Using Duncan pickups?
These are the Charvel pickups. They're equivalent to the Duncans. They're modeled after them. In other words, they're identical.
まあ全くダンカンにと同じなんだけど、それは一応でもシャーベルのピックアップ。
前ハマーのギター持ってる写真があったんだけど、それはケーラーを使ってたんですけど。トレモロ。今は何使ってたトレモロ？
I saw a picture of you using a hammer guitar and a Kaler arm. Which one are you using now?
The Floyd Rose. The picture with the hammer guitar was that whole incident was very strange. It just so happened that the Hammer Guitar Company sent 3 guitars to us when we were doing our second album for us to try, and we kept them for a week and then we sent them back. So I've never used a Hammer guitar.
Is that really?
Yeah, never. It just so happened we had our picture taken with a couple, which has turned out to be a mistake because I've seen it everywhere.
Is that right?
I've had my picture taken with an Aria guitar, and people think I endorse Arias now.
Is that right?
Yeah, guitar companies are the worst when it comes to things like that. Whatever the tell them.
2枚目のレコードを作ってた時にハマーから3本のギターが送ってきたわけですよ。でしばらく使ってて、あんまり良くないと思ってね、送り返したわけですよ。ところがね、あの時にたまたま写真撮られてしまって、それはもうあっちこっちで最近見かけるからもう困ってしまった。それにアリアを弾いてるところに撮られたことがあって、それもどっかでね発表されたのを見たことあるし、だからギター会社とか全くひどいもんだね。勝手に作って、そういうのを出してしまうから。
前はレスポール使ってたって言いましたよね。前レスポールを使ってて今アーム付きのやつでしょ。
あ、そうか、そういうアームがね、黒色ローズ。
その アームを使ってないギターとアームがついてるギターって弾くと総合的にちょっと変わっちゃうと思うんですよね。その辺は変わんないのかな。こうすぐアームを弾いていた人がアームないギターで弾くとなんか手持ち無沙汰になるし、弾いてそうじゃない人がアームがあると面倒くさいですよ。
Imagine your style must alter somewhat when you use an arm and when you're not using an arm.
Yeah, I didn't use one at all until the second album, because as I said before, when I first joined the band I only had the Les Paul and I didn't have the tremolo one. I was against him at first, but I think now it's become so much a part of the guitar that it's stupid not to use it. A lot of more traditionalist guitar players would say that it's a crutch for guitar players to use, but it's, I mean, to not use it nowadays in 1985 is like playing a guitar with 3 strings. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're there to be used and they should be used and they enhance the sound.
2枚目のアルバムまで使ったことなかった。なぜかというと、自分はそういうのは好きじゃなかったし、それにレスポールに取り付けられなかった。だけど今、その85年においては、そのアームというのは非常にギターにとっては大事なもので、アームを使わないということはもうほとんど、3本時計にしかついてないギターを弾くのと、等しい、それだけアームが重要な役割を果たすようになってきたと思う。
弾き方っていうのは変わんないですか？
How about the actual way you play though? You know, when you use an arm and when you don't use an arm.
It doesn't really affect me. It used to be that I would always put it out of tune by resting here, but you get around it. I mean, it's a very subtle change. You just move your wrist a little bit. It's not a big problem.
そんなに弾き方は変わらないんだけども、前はね、調子が狂ったりしてたんだけど、慣れれば狂ったり、するようなことは全くない。
アンプはマーシャルからブギーに変えたんですけど、
マーシャルから何？ブギー。
それどうして変えたのかな？
Why did you switch from Marshalls to Boogie?
No, I prefer. Boogies are hard to work with, but when they work right, if you get them in the right setup, they sound really good. There's a lot more scope for tonality with them. Marshall is can be very A, unreliable, and B, very much the same as everyone else. Marshall's
Unreliable and what?
much the same as everyone else because everyone uses Marshalls. They're just the stock. That's a problem with the market for kids who want to play rock and roll. They see everyone using Marshall amps and they're mass produced and they're cheap and they just go out and buy them. Boogie's a lot more refined, but they are a lot more difficult to work with. I've had a lot of problems with my Boogies and it's taken a long time to get them to work right. And unfortunately I don't have them with me, so I've got to use Marshalls tonight. So I'll sound exactly the same as everyone else.
Do you actually get them for free though?
With the Boogies?
Yeah.
Well, I do, but don't tell them. Because no one's supposed to know. Because Steve Lukather doesn't.
ブギの方はなんていうのかな、洗練された作り方をしてるんですよね。でもその割には操作非常にしにくいでうまくいかない場合が多いんだけども、一旦その使い方を完璧にマスターできればブギの方は音が、はるかにいいし、トーンの幅が、広いし、それからマーシャルに関してだけどもあまり頼りにならないし、そういうもう猫も杓子も使ってるからこうほとんど区別がつかなくなるんだよね、サウンドにおいては。まあ今日機材持ってきてないから、今晩のコンサートは一応マーシャルで頑張るけど、
ちょっと時間があれなんで最後にしたいと思うんですけど、
One last question ね。
ヘビーメタルバンドバンドエイドをやってますね。あれのいきさつっていう。
Maybe you explain the circumstances behind the heavy metal Band-Aid or Live Aid type thing that happened. Hearing it. A radio station in Los Angeles called KLOS had a radiothon weekend, which the entire weekend musicians would come down to the studio and they'd speak on the air and they'd answer phones and take pledges and give money and that sort of vibe. And they collected about, $200,000 or something during the entire weekend. Now, Jimmy, the bass player, and myself were living in an apartment in LA. in February, and we heard this on the radio, so we'd auction off a couple of guitars on the air. So we drove down to the station, bought the guitars with us, we did that, and when we were on the air, we were talking with the DJ about the possibility of maybe getting a bunch of heavy metalers together to do a show or to do a record, or just do whatever we could. And one thing led to another. I think we put a challenge out on the air to all the bands who were listening to contact us and really actually sit down and do something, because a lot of people talk about doing things like this, and to take it a stage further is something else entirely. So we did, and we decided to give it a shot. So we called up all the people we knew, and we called all the record companies and all the managers and all the studios. And the studios were no problem. They said they'd give us time, no problem. We called Ampex Tape. They said they'd give us tape. And everyone was very forthcoming with their time and their services, and surprisingly enough, it worked. We really didn't expect it to. Once we'd started, though, we couldn't get out of it. We had to see it through to the end, which we have done, and I'm real proud of the way it turned out.
So was you and Jimmy and DJ, you said?
Yeah, Jimmy and I started off, and then we wrote the song. Then we gave the song to Ronnie to write lyrics, and then we also asked Ronnie to produce the project. And so the whole thing was organised more or less by Jimmy and myself.
ロサンゼルスにあるラジオ局ですけども KLOS があるんですよ。でそれがちょうどなんていうのかな、アフリカ救済が盛んだった頃にね、その土日にねヘビメタルのミュージシャンに呼びかけてスタジオに来てね、こう例えばラジオに出たり、インタビューしてもらったり、金を、寄付してもらったり、あるいはそのこう寄付の電話を受け付けて、もらったりしたわけですよ。でその時に、彼とそのジミー、ベーシストのジミーが、たまたま一緒に住んでたわけですよ、ロサンゼルスに。でそれを聞いてスタジオに行ってギターを持って行ったわけですよ。要するにその誰かに言って、そのお金をこう寄付しようと思って、それでねいろんな話をしてるうちにね、よしなんかもっとでかいことやろうって、そういう話になってしまって、結局彼とジミーがその曲を作ってしまって、レコード会社とか、アンペックスみたいなテープ製造してる会社に連絡して、いろんなミュージシャンに連絡して、こういうプロジェクトやってるんだけども参加してくれないかって呼びかけてみたらね、みんなが協力的にね参加してくれて、でそれが、まあ、バンドエイドの、ヘビーメタル版になったんです。
それはいつ頃出るんですか？
When is that coming out?
Probably November, December.
11月と12月あたりじゃないか。And like what kind of people are going to be?
Who's on it?
Yeah, or just you might know actually already. 何参加してるメンツはもう分かったわけ。
大体分かってて、
Oh yeah, he already knows.
I can't remember. There's a lot.
一応彼とそのジミーがその最初に提唱したっていうか。
そのメンバーの中で印象に残ったプレーって誰？
Anybody leave any memorable performances that you really are left with?
George Lynch.
George Lynch.
All the guitar players were very impressive.
それはこう短い間でソロがポッポッポッポッと入ってる。
All the solos are kind of lined up together.
It's great because it sounds. We edited the whole thing when we were mixing, but it sounds as though all the guitar players are standing in a row. They just play one after the other because it's so well edited.
それは当然後でね編集したんだけども、そのギタリストがみんななんか並んで、パッパッパッパってなんかそんな感じがするんだけどね、立て続けにしてるような感じがする。
レコードが出たらぜひ買って聴いてみたいと思います。
Can't wait till it comes out. So
Alright.
どうも今日は。
Thanks a lot for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.